Lacquers are made from, if you go to Bernie Grundman, for example, you can say, okay, make me a lacquer. And he takes a master tape, he runs it through his lathe, and he makes you a lacquer. You can make as many of those as you like, as long as you pay him his 1,800 bucks to make you a lacquer. You know, so that's fine, that's easy. And we demo with that. Sometimes producers, music producers, and all that demo with that. The lacquer process usually comes, you've got a studio situation, the singers sing into multi-track, then the mixing engineer will fool around with Pro Tools, and if they're out of tune, auto-tune them and all that. Then they will go from the multi-track to a two-track. Usually in the analog world will be multi-track tape, and then to two-track tape, edited down to two-track tape. From the two-track tape you produce you bring the two-track tape to the mastering engineer who masters the lacquer, and then he cuts the lacquer for you. That's the usual process. The direct disc process is a little bit more difficult. You bring the lathe usually on a cart to the musicians, and the musicians sing, and it cuts directly to the lacquer. So it's rare enough. Many years ago, I went to a concert with then a date, and the concert was in Singapore. It was Jacinta on Groove Note. Very famous singer. The sound sucked. You know, it just sucked so bad that we left at intermission. And when we left at intermission, we found that there was this lone girl there selling LPs. And the LP was a direct-to-disc made inside Bernie Grundman's studio by the pianist who was accompanying the singer. So I bought the LP, I bought the direct-to-disc. So I turned to my date and said, would you like to listen to this? I've got a nice system at home. See my etchings. So she came back with me. We played the album. She loved, I learned then how much she loved music. We played the whole album. She stayed the night, and she's now my wife. So this album has got a lot of sentimental value. A few years ago, a friend of mine, Woody, was in Newport Beach.
You got me, Woody.
And was at the Newport show. And he said to me, Gary, you know, I don't know how to get to Hollywood because do I take a cab? I said, Woody, you know, you're my friend, I'll drive you there. Why are you going there for? And he said, oh, I'm going to see Bernie Grundman. Bernie Grundman? Of course I will drive you to Bernie Grundman. So we drove to Bernie Grundman's. Woody was mastering one of his, had Bernie master one of his Thai language music. And we sat there with Bernie Grundman, and I was quiet like a mouse. But Bernie Grundman was quite engaging. You know, everybody told me Bernie Grundman is a nasty old man. He's not a nice person at all. But he was engaging, he was friendly, he was joking with us, he was telling me his stories and all that. So I told him the story that, you know, of life in Bernie's and why I revered him so much. And I love his music anyway. Everything Bernie Grundman has done for me has been great. I hunt down albums that are mastered by Bernie. So I asked Bernie, you know, Bernie, why didn't you do another one? Because he did that in the 90s. I said, Bernie, why are you doing another? He looked at me and said, never, ever again. Because it is a very difficult process. Bernie runs a Scully lathe. If you check all the direct-to-disc albums that I've ever seen, it all says a Neumann lathe. There's one reason. A Neumann lathe weighs 300 pounds. A Scully lathe weighs 1,200 pounds. That's why you don't cut a Scully lathe to the musicians. So in this case, if we had to do something, you had to bring the musicians into a mastering studio. He's not set up to record. He doesn't have the consoles. He doesn't have mixers. He doesn't have anything. So he said, never ever again. You know, he wouldn't ever do it. Before this, 2 years before this, I was demoing in Montreal, in the Montreal Audio Show. And I was playing one of my new favorite albums, and it was Anne Bisson's Blue Mine. So I was playing it, I played it several times during the course of the show. This guy was sitting in the audience, Norman Dissenel, and he said, I know the singer, I can introduce the singer to you. I looked at him and said, yeah, right, as if you know Anne Bisson. He ran out of the room, he dragged her in by the hand, and he introduced her to me. And that's how I met Anne. And since then, every time we do a show, and she's at the show as well, she'll come into my room, and she'll prove that when I put the album on, and she stands between the speakers and sing together with herself, you can't tell the difference. It sounds almost exactly the same as her. You know, so I knew Anne, I got introduced to Bernie Grundman. The next thing to do was to introduce Anne to Bernie. So I paid for Bernie to remaster Blue Mine. And I sat with Bernie while he remastered Blue Mine and niggled him a bit. Great singer, isn't she? She plays the piano too. You know, she performs live, and I started pushing him at him. And then when she did another album, I got her to master that album at Bernie's. And this time I dragged her into Bernie's and got the two of them to sit together and do the mastering, and he liked her. So we've gotten the seeds of this album, and it took me 2 more years to get Bernie to say, yeah, I'll do it. And he agreed to do it, and it took us 9 months to get it in the bag. So Anne had to write new music, had to find musicians to perform and everything. Because of my friendship with Ying Tan, who owns Groove Note, he introduced me to Michael Ross, who's one of the most sought after and best recording engineers in Hollywood. I know Alan Sides of Ocean Way Studios, so I could borrow any microphone that I liked. And because of that, Michael went to town with Alan's microphone. He brought in nearly $250,000 worth of microphones into this. You know, when you talk about a Neumann U67, it's a very famous microphone. I mean, nodding his. It's a very famous microphone. We use the U67 on the kick drum.
Just like it. Right.
Because it's got this richness that shows it off very well. You know, we use vintage AKGs on the double bass. We use unobtainium Russian Lomo microphones on the cymbals. So Michael went to town. He said, okay, Gary, this has got to be the best audiophile album anybody has ever heard in their lives. And the reason is this: Bernie's about to retire. We may not get a second chance to do another direct-to-disc at Bernie's. And so Anne did all the preparation for the music. Michael Ross did all the preparations for the sound. We moved everything into Bernie's. And we went so far to not have any digital in the chain. I know the people who love digital would hate this, but we had 0 digital. Even the reverb was an analog reverb. There's
the bathroom?
not the bathroom, but the EMT 140.
Oh yeah, the one.
Which is the size of the bathroom.
That's where they usually put it. That's where they usually put them.
Yeah, that's where you usually put them. The EMT 140 is a very famous reverb box.
Right.
They call it a box, but you put it into a room because it's the size of a room.
Big.
So we use an EMT 140 for the reverb. We used all vintage microphones, all vintage mic preamps, and we had a very modern mixer because Michael Ross thought that sounded the best.
Was there a tape also recorded, or no? Just the
because I released Anne's previous albums on tape,
yeah.
we ran tape in parallel with the lathe.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So the tape is as close to this as you can ever get. So this is the closest tape to the performance ever. And we also ran digital backup because when we did takes like this, you have to review the takes to determine whether you want to use it or you want to use another take or play it again. So we had a digital backup to do that as well. And when we reviewed the difference between the tape, the digital and the analog inside Bernie Grundman's studio, that was when I threw up my hands and said, okay, Bernie, you win. Final. So 45s, The musicians had to perform 3 songs in a row with no mistakes. The actual takes that we used for the pressing has to go to press. You cannot. There's only one lacquer. So this is not the best take. The reason I've got this is we did 3 takes of this side B, and we chose the best take for the press, a backup which we plated anyway, just in case there was a problem with the first plate, with the first lacquer, and this is the third. This is third as the third best take of the day.